The answer to your question is no. You shouldn't just up and quit your 9 to 5. Not at least if you have a set plan, clear goal, specific clear goals of what the next steps are going to be, or at least, if you don't have your goals and a set plan, at least you started doing the inner work so that you can believe in yourself, not self-sabotage, not get into your head and get into self-doubt while you're on this journey after your 9 to 5. Hi, my name's Shireen. Call me Miss Rain. I'm your unconventional teacher. So take what resonates. Okay, so this is a first episode in this series of I experienced this, so you don't have to. So I'll give a little intro of who I am. My name is Shireen, or you can call me Miss Rain. I like to just consider myself a free-spirited individual, likes experience in life, heavy on experience in life, and I like teaching people from my experience. So what's the best way of doing it? Obviously sharing my experiences with you guys. So back to what I was saying, don't want to keep it too long. Talking from my experience, you shouldn't quit your 9 to 5 if you haven't done at least two of these things. Have a clear goal, a clear specific goal, steps of what your plan is going to be after, or two, at least you took the time to do the inner work on yourself. Start doing the inner work, because it's a continuous journey, so that you can believe in yourself. Walk with confidence after you quit your 9 to 5, and I have a greater purpose in life. I believe in myself, so this is why I'm quitting my 9 to 5. At least if you haven't done those two, one of the two, both of them, don't quit your job. I'm going to get into a little story time of how it took me about 3 years to figure that out. So I'm not going to go into a long story time, because if you watch my storytelling about surviving the unemployed life, I go into detail of what happened of me quitting my job and moving from Toronto to Calgary without a plan. So I'm going to quickly sum up the story. If you want to know the details, go check out those episodes. I believe there's like 11 episodes, I think. But anyways, yes, I did that. I quit, not necessarily quit, because this was all going on during the pandemic. I was in personal training, and what happened, if you guys lived in Ontario, you would know that during the pandemic, gyms kept opening and closing. So yes, this was annoying, because I finally transitioned from the service life, like the service industry, serving and bartending, and I got into something that I'm like, okay, this is gonna be a career of mine. I got into personal training, and this happened in 2019. I'm going into detail. I specify all the details in my storytelling, but yes, I got into personal training. The pandemic happened, and then I went through a whole spiritual awakening. So basically, the pandemic was a wake-up call for me, and it was after that, everything just seemed to be a domino effect in my life, because I'm like, okay, I've been working these 9 to 5 jobs since I graduated high school. What am I going to do with my life? During the pandemic, I had a whole sit down and reflection time, and I started doing the inner work. So that by being on that healing journey, I came to the realization I don't want to be tied down to no job. I want to be an entrepreneur, and that was like the kickstart of like different, picking up and putting down different ideas. Basically, I started freelance personal training during the pandemic, because I'm like, okay, the gyms keep opening and closing. I'm working out from home. I can train clients online. So I started freelance training while I'm going through this whole spiritual awakening. And then, I kid you not, within the whole year of like having my awakening and doing the work and decided not to go back to personal training at Good Life, I was like, okay, I'm going to move out of Toronto. I feel I need to change my environment. I need to grow more, and I feel like I outgrow my environment. So I spontaneously packed all my shit up, okay? Mind you, I just started my freelance training career, okay? So I packed all my shit up and I moved to Calgary I was spending my money because I had no money management. I was trying to save because I was selling things, but I packed my shit up and moved to Calgary with like no savings, guys, and fresh to my freelance training. Also adding in there, because of the pandemic, I was losing my passion to be a personal trainer. So yeah, no plan, new to personal training, and no savings. And I moved to Calgary, and that's where like it basically all started, okay? My big lesson on why you shouldn't quit your 9 to 5 job without either doing the inner work or having a plan. Because where were we? I moved to Calgary, didn't have a plan, and then I stepped down from being a personal trainer because I wasn't passionate about it. Because one thing your girl's not gonna do is sell you shit that I don't care about. So I took off the personal training cap, and I was left to wonder, okay, what's next? So whatever, it was the first time I was on my own. I had my own place. I just took, by the grace of God, I was getting by. I was getting on my feet, had the help of friends and family. And I still had a client that I was training at that point. So I had little money coming in from the government, from friends, family. I was surviving, okay, guys? But I took that time to start doing the inner work. I was on some heavy spiritual journey, but again, sparing you the details because I do get into those details in the other series, Surviving the Unemployed Life. And I know I say I'm sparing you guys the details, but I'm still kind of going into details. But long story short, I was like, okay, it's time to get a job. Because I'm out here in a different province on my own. My family is back in Toronto. Like, I have nobody out here. Time to meet someone, like a friend, make a friend out here and get a job. And that's what I did. I connected with a lovely friend. She introduced me to her sister, which ended up being my neighbor. And that friend got me into landscaping in the summertime. So mind you, while I was like unemployed and I just moved to Calgary, I was doing the inner work. I was meditating. I was on some spiritual discipline routine. Okay, guys. And as soon as I started the full-time job, which was landscaping, it was a full-time summer job. I've completely fell off of my spiritual practice, and I just got caught back up. I feel like I just got caught back up in the matrix, you know, like it was like a big test, and I kind of took a step backwards, which I'm okay with now. You know, I wasn't done learning lessons. I went back out in the real world, and I, you know, had some lessons to learn. So I got back into the job, but completely fell off my spiritual practice. And I said, I'm not doing landscaping next year. Because what's cool about landscaping, you sacrifice your summer, but you don't work the winter, and you're on unemployment. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to, I'm getting into detail again. I decided not to go back to landscaping because we're going to sum it all up here and get to the point. I decided not to go back to landscaping. I didn't really have a plan, and I also got into a relationship, which kind of ended up being another lesson in itself, because it just kind of pulled me away from that mission I was on with my first intentions of moving here, which was, you know, stepping into my entrepreneur life, and stepping into my individuality and independence. That all fell off, and here we are, fast forward into today, sharing my experience with you guys in front of this camera. Summing it all up, got into a relationship, so that became a whole thing itself, a whole lesson, growth, because I'm not going to say anything negative about it. Matter of fact, we still are together, working on growing through things. But that turned out to be a lesson in itself. And there was problems throughout it because I was not carrying my weight. I was, I had no plan of what my next steps are going to be with, okay, you want to be an entrepreneur, Shireen, fine. What are we going to do? And then yes, I created things. I rebranded myself probably 2 times throughout living here in Calgary. But I just never had I know what my long-term goal is. I know what I want in life, but I never had set goals and steps towards that plan, right? And I was busy learning lessons, so I never got to sit with myself like how I did when I first moved to Calgary. Because basically, guys, no one told me that committing to self is actually way harder than committing to Bob at a 9 to 5, clocking in for Bob and living Bob's dream at a 9 to 5. I was so disciplined. Yes and no, because your girl was, when I didn't care about the job, I was late. I just knew my presence was needed. I'm gonna do a good job anyway, so who cares what time I show up at work, whatever. The point is, I was more disciplined and when it came to clocking into a 9 to 5, but then when it came to actually being committed to myself and clocking into my entrepreneurship, I was not committed at all. And again, because I, got back out into the world and I fell off of my spiritual practice, I stopped doing the inner work. So all that to say is basically these past 2-3 years being here in Calgary, I've been battling believing in myself. I've been doubting myself while I've been unemployed, because I've basically been unemployed ever since I decided not to go back to landscaping, guys. I've been unemployed. But yeah, throughout those years, I've been self-sabotaging my business. I've been, rebranding and branding and posting and unposting and archiving and second guessing, overthinking, just getting in the way of myself because I haven't took the time to get back to the Shireen, who I was when I first moved to Calgary, even before I moved to Calgary, when I was putting in the work and I was taking time out for myself to meditate and reflect and, I'm not saying it didn't happen throughout, but it was inconsistent because I was learning lessons. I was in a relationship. So, I don't want to go all the way into detail anymore. You guys get the gist of it. Don't do what I did, learn from my experience. It took me about 3 years to come to this realization that I'm here still unemployed, not made a few sales, with my business. I can celebrate that. I still came a long way. I'm going to give myself grace. I'm not going to beat myself up. I've achieved stuff throughout these years. I've freaking grown because relationships push you to grow. But basically, I chose to take the hard route. So by me sitting here sharing my experience with you guys, you can be like me and still watch this video and choose to take the hard route, or you can learn from my experience, take what resonates from my experience, and take an easy route. And the easy route is what I should have done, which, okay, no shoulda, coulda, woulda, but what I'm gonna do now, after what I started doing yesterday, is get back to doing the inner work, get into the root of those limited beliefs. Why don't I believe in myself? Why am I self-sabotaging? I got to get back to doing that and having me time so that I can have the confidence and believe in myself, and my brand and my business, so that I can thrive next year. Because I'm just saying, I guess I just took it into, this was all during my Saturn return. Holy moly, I went through all this during my Saturn return. So yes, guys, if you are going to, just to wrap it up here, if you are going to quit your 9 to 5, at least have an action plan, okay? Set some goals, have a clear path to what your next steps are after you quit, and start doing the inner work. Because realistically, even just sharing my experience with you guys, the inner work has to be done regardless, because you don't want to get into the self-sabotage and you don't want to get in your own way. So I love you guys. If you made it to the end, I appreciate you guys. I experienced this so you don't have to. Take what resonates. Peace and love.